Joel Osteen is famous for his big smile, his church talks, and his messages about hope. But just recently, he got some really sad news. He went from leading one of the biggest churches in the world to dealing with personal heartbreak. His life took a turn that nobody expected, and it was really emotional. What really happened when nobody was looking? And is everyone talking about him again? Stay with us because what we're about to tell ya will really surprise you. Joel Osteen is one of the most famous church pastors in the whole world. He's the leader of Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas, and he has people all over the world who listen to him. His positive, happy messages and TV church services are watched by millions of people every week. He's also written books that lots of people have bought. Joel has become someone that many people look up to for hope and faith. His messages usually talk about believing in yourself, growing as a person, and staying strong when things get tough. People know him for being calm, encouraging, and always smiling. He has kept his public image clean and away from trouble for most of the time spent famous. But in early 2024, Joel's name started showing up in the news for reasons that had nothing to do with his usual happy messages. On February 11, 2024, Lakewood Church became the place where something really scary happened. On that Sunday afternoon, families were gathered inside Lakewood Church when a woman named Janessa Moreno walked into the building. She was carrying her young son and also had an AR-15 gun with her. Nobody knows for sure why she did what she did, but without any warning, Moreno started shooting inside the church. This made everyone really scared and caused a chaos among the people who were there to pray. During the shooting, she actually shot her own 7-year-old son, hurting him really badly. He was rushed to the hospital with serious brain injuries and is still fighting for his life. Another man who was at church that day also got hurt during the shooting. Before Moreno could hurt more people, two police officers who weren't working that day but were there for security acted really fast. They fought back against the shooter and ended up shooting and killing her, which stopped that scary situation from getting worse. This incident left everyone at Lakewood Church feeling really shaken up and scared. People who are investigating what happened are still trying to figure it out, and there are still many questions that don't have answers. Nobody really knows why the woman did what she did, and the people in charge haven't been able to say if there were any bigger reasons behind it. But one thing is for sure. This moment was a really big challenge for Joel Osteen and the church he has been leading for so many years. While he's used to being in the public eye, this time everyone was looking at him because of something really painful that tested everything he teaches people about. After what happened, Joel Osteen felt like it was his job to step up and reconnect with his church community during such a hard time. Let's find out how he chose to comfort his people and help them get through this difficult time with faith and caring. A week after what happened on February 11th, Lakewood Church had a special service that was all about healing. It wasn't like their normal Sunday gathering. This time they had a clear purpose. They wanted to comfort the families who were her support, the people who were scared, and remind everyone that faith is stronger than fear. Joel Osteen stood in front of everyone, not as a famous pastor, but as a leader HOAs trying to help his community deal with their sadness. His message was all about hope, reminding everyone that even when things seem really dark, faith can give you strength. Without being affected way more than just the people inside the church. The saddest part is what happened to the young boy who got hurt. He's still in really bad condition and has a long road to getting better ahead of him. His situation has made people all over the country feel really sad and worried about him. The trauma that his family went through is real deep, and they have become the main focus of people trying to help in Houston and other places too. The local community around Lakewood Church also felt really emotional about what happened. Many members were deeply shaken because they saw something they never thought they would see in a place that's supposed to be peaceful. What happened also acted. People all around the world. Lakewood Church is known everywhere, and lots of people from different countries follow their faith community. Messages of love, sympathy, and support came from people in different countries, religions, and cultures. Faith leaders, religious groups, and people watched Joel Osteen's teachings all shared words of comfort and encouragement. This show of support reminded the Lakewood community that they weren't alone in their pain. Even though Vivirian was sad, there were also moments when people were really brave. The two police officers who weren't working that day but responded to what happened were called heroes. Their quick actions stopped the situation from getting even worse. Many people have said their bravery saved lives and prevented more people from getting hurt. Their efforts have been publicly recognized, and what they did during the crisis has become a symbol of dedication and putting others first. Besides comforting the community, Joel Osteen knew he had another really important job to do. He had to look at and make the security at the church stronger. Lakewood Church is a place that welcomes over 45,000 people each week, and it could no longer just rely on the regular safety procedures they had before. The terrible incident showed that there were serious problems with protection, and it became clear that changes needed to happen right away. What happened raised questions that went way beyond just what one person did. Janice Moreno, the woman who did this, had a documented history of a mental illness called schizophrenia. Even though she had this mental health condition, she was still able to legally buy guns. This has started conversations all across the country about mental health, gun access, and the systems that are supposed to prevent situations like this. Many people are now asking how someone with a documented mental illness could get around the safeguards that exist. It has become a really worrying example of how legal and medical systems can fail to talk to each other effectively. For Joel Osteen and Lakewood Church, their main focus immediately lies making sure that nothing like this will ever happen again. In the days after what happened, church leaders did a complete review of all the safety rules they had, while Lakewood already had police officers who weren't working that day as part of their weekly security presence. How big this incident was showed that they needed more comprehensive measures for a place that so many people visit. Joel worked with local authorities and private security experts to look at risk areas all throughout the church campus. Again, one of the first things they did was increase the number of trained security people who would be there during services and special events. These new additions weren't just police officers. It also included professionals who have the experience in emergency response and keeping crowds safe. Having them there was meant to provide protection that people could see and also readiness behind the croquis, behind the scenes. They also looked at their entrance policies again. Although Lakewood is known for being an open and welcoming place, the team introduced new procedures for checking bags and monitoring entry points. They upgraded their camera systems to cover more areas with better clarity and quicker alert responses. These set changes were put in place carefully to keep the warm environment that visitors expect while adding necessary layers of protection. Additionally, Lakewood Church began working with mental health professionals to train their staff on how to identify signs of distress or unusual behavior before a situation gets worse. This new layer of awareness wasn't just for security staff. It extended to greeters, ushers, and volunteers, people who interact closely with people each week. Joel also joined efforts to advocate for stronger communication between health care systems and law enforcement about individuals with high-risk profiles. While the church can't control national policy, Joel recognized that his platform carries influence. By publicly supporting better system checks and improved reporting channels, he added his voice to a growing call for smarter prevention strategies. Besides dealing with church matters and public responsibilities, Joel Osteen also has a family and personal life. And recently, that side of his world has been facing growing pressure. Behind the scenes, his personal life has brought unexpected challenges and even tragic news. Let's take a closer look at what's been going through privately away from spotlight. While Joel Osteen is best known for leading one of the biggest churches in the world, behind the scenes, he is also a husband, father, and family man. He lives in Houston, Texas, with his wife, Victoria Osteen, and their 2 children, Jonathan and Alexandra. Their home has always been a place of safety, one that reflects the values he teaches: peace, faith, and family unity. Beyond recent months, Joel's personal life has been hit hard by a series of deeply troubling events that have left him facing emotional and physical challenges. One of the most heartbreaking reports came out in September 2024, when rumors spread that a house fire in Houston had taken the lives of several of his extended family members. According to early reports from online outlets, the people who died included a niece and a cousin. The news quickly spread across social media, making his followers feel really sad. However, majority sources such as the Houston Chronicle not confirm the story. While there may have been a fire incident involving relatives of the Osteen family, no official records or statements from Joel or Lakewood Church verified the tragic details. As a result, that band remains surrounded by uncertainty and speculation. Despite the lack of confirmed information, the emotional impact of such stories, even if they're partially or fully verified, adds weight to the already growing pressure Joel has faced this past year. Dealing with grief or even the rumors of grief can be a burden, especially when lived in thappy blicky, adding to the hardship. Joel Osteen reportedly had a medical emergency in October 2024. According to online sources, he was rushed to a hospital in Houston after experiencing a sudden health concern, though no official diagnosis or cause was made public. The situation led to growing concern among his supporters, with many sending prayers and well wishes through social platforms. Joel went back to his public duties, suggesting that he had recovered, but details around the incident remain private. Through the youth challenges, one theme remains clear: Joel's life behind the scenes has been far from easy. Even though his public image remains polished and composed, it is clear that he, like anyone else, has had to face moments of fear, uncertainty, and potential loss. For someone whose message is so centered in strength through hardship, these events have tested his resolve in real and personal ways. The past year has tested not just his leadership, but his ability to bounce back. A Sumion who has always preached about the power of staying grounded through life storms, Joel Osteen is living proof of those very principles. The challenges may not always make headlines in credible news sources, but they add another layer of humanity to one of America's most watched spiritual figures. Joel Osteen was already dealing with waves of unverified stories and emotional stress when even more tragic news began circulating about me. This time, the rumors struck even deeper, blurring the line between speculation and sorrow. Joel Osteen has faced his share of personal and public challenges, but perhaps known as bizarre and emotionally disruptive as widely misreported news of his own death in recent months. False reports about his well-being and even his survival have spread rapidly across the internet, causing confusion, concern, and fear among his millions of followers. These death hoaxes not only shook his loyal audience, but also raised serious questions about the speed at which misinformation can travel and how damaging it can be. On December 1, 2024, an article began circulating across social media platforms and unknown websites claiming that Joel Osteen had tragically died in a plane crash. The article said that the crash happened while Joel was on his way to a missionary event in another country. It gave specific details such as the flight path, number of people on board, and even cited a supposed statement from law enforcement. The story spread rapidly, with headlines stating that the world had lost one of its most prominent faith leaders. However, within hours of the article's appearance, it became clear that the report was completely false. Major news outlets such as the Associated Press quickly fact-checked the story and confirmed it was a complete lie. There were no flight records, no public statements from authorities, and no confirmation from Lakewood Church or Joel's family. In fact, Joel Osteen was very much alive and was later seen participating in his regular weekend services days after the rumor emerged. Adding to the swirl of rumors was another claim from September 2024, which suggested that Joel's daughter, Victoria, had been injured in a crash. The story circulated on niche websites and was never picked up or confirmed by any credible news outlet. No statement from the Osteen family addressed this, and no medical or public records supported the report. Whether there was an incident or not remains unclear. But the lack of verification leaves the story sitting squarely in the realm of speculation. Unfortunately, the false narratives did no end there. In June 2025, another set of stories began to circulate, this time claiming that Joel had died in a serious car accident. The wording was vague and the sources were questionable, yet the headlines were enough to spark another round of online speculation. As with the earlier incident, this report was also proven to be incorrect. While it is truth, Joel was involved in a car accident and required hospitalization. The injuries were not fatal. He received treatment and eventually returned to his usual routine. Still, a moment reminded people of just how quickly confusion can turn into panic when accurate information is lacking. What ties all these stories together is not just the misinformation itself, but the emotional toll it can take on both the subject and their audience. For Joel Osteen, a spiritual leader known for offering calm in moments of chaos, being the target of false death reports is not only distressing, but also a potential distraction from the work he is focused on ministering to millions and guiding them through their own struggles. Up until now, Joel Osteen seemed caught in a relentless web of false news and swirling rumors. But then another tragedy struck him, and this time it wasn't a hoax. It was real, heartbreaking, and impossible to ignore. In June 2025, Joel Osteen found himself in the middle of a very real and painful tragedy, one that had been quietly haunting his family for nearly 2 decades. This time they pointed to a reopened murder case involving his 84-year-old great-aunt, Johnny Daniel, whose unsolved death in 2006 had remained a painful scar in the family's history. Now, with investigators back in, the case is once again under scrutiny, and the renewed focus has brought back emotional turmoil and tough questions. The case began in 2006 when Johnny Daniel, a relative of Joel Osteen and a longtime Houston resident, was found dead under suspicious circumstances. Her age, 84, made the incident especially disturbing. Authorities quickly zeroed in on a suspect, a man who was arrested shortly after the crime. However, what followed was a complicated and deeply flawed legal journey. Despite being taken into custody, the suspect was never officially treated in court. The reason: weak DNA evidence and what many now consider poor handling of case by law enforcement and prosecutors. Over time, the case went cold. The suspect remained behind bars, but without a formal conviction, essentially held for nearly 18 years without trial. Legal experts and advocacy groups began to raise concerns about the fairness of this extended detention, especially given the lack of strong forensic evidence to tie the man to the crime. Prolonged imprisonment without resolution drew growing criticism from legal watchdogs and civil rights groups. The unresolved case weighed heavily on the Daniel and Osteen families, even as Joel Osteen continued building his global ministry. While he rarely spoke about it in public, the quiet pain of a family member's violent and unresolved death remained in the background. Then, in early June 2025, the case took a dramatic turn. Investigators officially reopened the file, hoping that advancements in forensic technology and renewed attention could finally bring answers. According to reports from The Independent, the decision to revisit the case came after new legal reviews of improperly handled evidence and growing calls to reevaluate cold cases across Texas. The suspect, who had been released from prison in late 2024 after years of legal battles, remains a key focus in the renewed investigation. However, this time, author and ICE are taking a broader approach. They are reviewing the entire original case file, reassessing all forensic material with up-to testing methods, and speaking again with past witnesses. The goal is not only to ensure justice for Johnny Daniel, but also to ensure that legal errors from the past are corrected. The story has since gained local and national media attention, both because of the Osteen family's connection and the broader implications for the justice system. Holding Somione for nearly 2 decades without trial is seen by many as a failure of due process. Yet for the Daniel family, the question remains: who really took Johnny's life? As the investigation moves forward, Joel Osteen has not issued any public comment on the case. Understandably, this is a deeply personal matter for him, and one that touches a painful chapter in his family's history. Still, the case raises larger concerns about delayed justice and how unresolved crimes can continue to affect families even decades later. For no, Joel Osteen has survived the whirlwind, the false death rumors, the fabricated stories about family loss, and the intense scrutiny surrounding his leadership after the Lakewood Church incident could have rattled anyone. But Joe, known for preaching calm in the midst of chaos, has quietly maintained his presence and continued to lead. He returned to his regular preaching schedule, kept up appearances at immunity events, and doubled down on his message of spiritual hope even when facing his own moments of uncertainty. Looking ahead, Joel's focus